Hey Academy students, Dan here again, and stoked to be back to bring you guys some more info. Today's lesson is brought to you by coffee. I've been asked some questions about the open-close technique, push-pull, and I want to be going down in a bit of detail with that. I use that on my right hand in particular quite a bit. So I'll go through some detail with that one for you. And a lot of the other content we'll be going through today will be to do with basically maybe stuff off the kit. So maybe some stuff about how to get your name out there per se is one of the questions, and how to go about perhaps branding yourself and things you can do to help push you in the direction of becoming a full-time professional musician. And also we'll be going over a whole bunch of stuff in the studio. This is filmed in my new studio, and I'll go over a whole bunch of things today, like a lot of the mics that I've chosen to use in the studio. The preamps, I'll go into the control room. We'll show you some stuff in the control room, and the drums and snares and stuff I have in here. And I want to go through some of the reasons why I chose a lot of the gear decisions that I did choose, to give you guys a bit of insight into that. Thought it'd be something cool and different. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic. So the first topic today I want to talk about is the push-pull open-close. And in particular, we have a question from Kai, and his question is, I'm kind of stuck at 240 with my hands. I think it is because I had to keep fixing my left hand technique. I can totally relate to that, dude. I've had to do that myself, which I'll get into in a minute. I use open close and would love if you would share some tips for getting my technique better and breaking 240. So first things first, before you break 240, a lot of coffee. 240 is like, first let me get this very clear. 240 is extremely fast. Like, I know there's people doing insane things, but seriously, and there's a difference too that I want to talk about quickly before we get into this, about the difference being playing 240 and the difference of just, kind of struggling along at 240. And that goes for any tempo really. And so when you see people who say, oh, this is a clip of playing 300 BPM, and they're flying along and it sounds like a machine gun and all that sort of stuff, I never really personally, and I'm not discrediting anyone who wants to do that kind of stuff, by all means, but for me personally, the aim and direction I take is the tempo that I need to play. Let's say it's 230 and I play at 230 a little bit. I basically, my mentality going into that is I need to be able to play 230 for a long period of time, and it needs to be clean, and I need to be able to start on whatever limb I want to start on and finish on the limb I want to finish on. So for example, which is basically being locked in. So for example, if we're playing at, say, got a metronome here, and the app I'm using, by the way, for my metronome is called Polynome. Shout out to those dudes, really cool. So let's say 220, and what I mean by starting on, you'll say I'm right-handed, so I start on my right hand a lot if I'm leading into single stroke rolls, and finishing on my right hand is completing the bar perfectly. So if you need to count the notes, or it's a bit of a skill learning the faster tempos. If you need to count the notes, if it's 12 or if you're 13, by hitting on the 1 of the next bar, and by doing these tempos, or what I call being able to play these tempos, is being locked in. And so that's one really, really important thing that I think gets overlooked a little bit, especially in today's crazy stuff where people are just flying around everywhere. So I wouldn't really call myself a fast drummer. I don't really play anything over 240. I haven't needed to. I used to play in death metal bands years ago that were 250, maybe 260 in some points, but I haven't really had to do that for a long time, thank goodness. I actually don't really enjoy playing those crazy fast tempos. Just takes a lot of upkeep, and I'm not really good at it. So, and I haven't really needed to play crazy fast. So, getting back a bit, I want to share some tips on the first half. The first half of Kai's question, where he mentioned he kept having to change techniques. So I'm not sure if this is how or what happened for you, Kai, but for me, I want to give a bit of background here. And I think I've spoken about this before on the academy, but I've had a really, really shitty injury on my right hand, and basically it's been permanent and it's never recovered. And so I used to have a technique pretty identical to my left hand, where it's all wrist and fingers. So it's like almost like...
Do you want to know how you can watch this full lesson? Just sign up at www.drumtechniqueacademy.net. Drumming, as you know, is a lot like gravity. All it takes is a little push.